It was an ordinary morning at the sleek glass-fronted headquarters of a prestigious company. The lobby buzzed with the usual sounds, the rhythmic clatter of heels on marble floors, the faint hum of printers, and the polite exchanges of greetings. Behind the reception desk sat Emily, a young receptionist known for her warm smile and attentive nature. She treated everyone who entered with the same respect, whether they wore a designer suit or carried a worn-out briefcase. That morning, as the revolving doors spun open, a man stepped inside. He appeared modestly dressed, plain clothes, no fancy watch or expensive shoes. His calm demeanor contrasted with the usual hurried energy of the place. Emily, ever alert, noticed something different about him right away. When she greeted him verbally, he didn't respond. Instead, he looked slightly confused and pointed to his ear, then shook his head gently. Emily instantly understood, he was deaf. Without hesitation, she smiled warmly and began communicating in sign language. Her hands moved gracefully, spelling out a friendly welcome and asking how she could help. The man's face brightened with relief and gratitude. In that brief moment, a silent connection was formed, one that didn't rely on words, only empathy. While others at nearby desks glanced curiously, Emily remained focused on the visitor, never showing a hint of impatience or discomfort. She guided him through the sign-in process, explained directions to the meeting room, and even offered him water, all in sign language. It was clear this wasn't a performance or an attempt to impress anyone. It was simply human decency in action. What Emily didn't know, however, was that this man wasn't just any visitor. Beneath his unassuming appearance, he was actually the millionaire owner of the company, disguised to see how his employees treated people from different walks of life. He had chosen to pose as a deaf client that day, hoping to test the true character of his staff, to find out who genuinely respected people and who only served when they expected recognition. Emily's kindness was completely authentic. She didn't see a test, she saw a person who needed her help. Her gestures carried warmth, patience, and genuine respect, the kind that comes from the heart. What began as a simple interaction would soon become the turning point of her life, proving that true professionalism lies not in titles, but in compassion that needs no audience. While Emily continued her graceful conversation in sign language with the quiet visitor, others in the office watched with mild curiosity, and some, with a hint of judgment. A few employees whispered among themselves, wondering why she was giving so much attention to a man who probably couldn't afford their services. But Emily didn't notice. Her focus was solely on making sure he felt welcome and understood. What no one in that bustling lobby knew was that this unassuming man was actually Mr. Harrison Cole, the reclusive millionaire and founder of the very company they worked for. Known for his humility and keen sense of justice, Mr. Cole had built his empire from the ground up. But as his business expanded, he grew increasingly worried that the company's culture had shifted, that kindness and empathy had been replaced by arrogance and indifference. So he decided to conduct an unannounced test of character. Disguised in plain clothes and pretending to be deaf, he wanted to see how employees would treat someone who seemed powerless, someone they thought couldn't offer them anything in return. This wasn't just a random visit, it was a quiet experiment in human integrity. As Mr. Cole interacted with Emily, he carefully observed every detail, her patience, her gentle tone, and her willingness to communicate beyond words. He noticed how she smiled when she signed, how she didn't make him feel like an inconvenience, and how naturally her kindness flowed. She didn't pause to think about social status or company hierarchy. To her, every person who walked through that door mattered. Meanwhile, a few other employees failed the unspoken test miserably. Some avoided eye contact. Others offered forced politeness or ignored him entirely. To them, he was just another unimportant visitor. But Emily's sincerity shone like a light in the room, quiet yet undeniable. Mr. Cole realized something profound that day: true values can't be trained, they come from within. All the corporate seminars and polished resumes in the world couldn't replace genuine empathy. He saw in Emily the very spirit that had built his company years ago: respect for all, regardless of background, language, or wealth. By the time the deaf visitor left the lobby, he already knew the outcome of his secret test. Emily had passed with grace and authenticity. The next step would be revealing the truth, and showing everyone how one act of simple kindness could define a person's true worth. As the morning progressed, Emily continued to assist the quiet visitor with a level of attentiveness that few employees could match. Her smile never wavered, her gestures remained gentle, and her communication was effortless, as though kindness was her native language. Every sign she made carried warmth and respect. She didn't rush him, didn't show frustration, and never once treated him differently because of his disability. For Emily, sign language wasn't just a skill she had learned in training, it was a bridge between hearts. Years ago, she had volunteered at a community center for people with hearing impairments, where she realized how often society ignored or misunderstood them. From that experience, she had promised herself to always make sure people felt seen, no matter who they were. So when the deaf visitor walked into her lobby, she didn't see a challenge, she saw a human being deserving of equal respect. She guided him patiently through the visitor log, making sure he understood each step. When she noticed his hands tremble slightly, she reassured him with a comforting smile and a slow, steady pace. The moment she offered him water and asked if he needed anything else, the visitor's eyes softened, a silent expression of gratitude that said more than words ever could. Across the room, a few employees exchanged dismissive glances, whispering about how overly nice she was being. One even joked that she was wasting time. But Emily didn't hear them, and even if she had, she wouldn't have cared. Her compassion wasn't performative, it was instinctive. She didn't treat kindness as a strategy or a way to earn praise, it was simply who she was. Meanwhile, Mr. Harrison Cole, still disguised as the deaf visitor, observed her quietly, deeply moved by her authenticity. He noticed how she looked people in the eye when communicating, how her body language radiated respect, and how she seemed genuinely happy to help. It wasn't an act for the cameras or a bid for promotion. She didn't know who he really was, and that's what made her actions so powerful. Her sincerity reminded him of his early days in business, when he too believed in treating every client, every worker, and every stranger with compassion. Watching Emily brought back the spirit of humanity that had once defined his company. In her, he saw the purest form of integrity, kindness without motive, service without expectation, and respect without condition. By the time their interaction ended, Emily had no idea she had touched the heart of a millionaire, and changed the direction of her own destiny forever. The next morning, the office buzzed with anticipation. A company-wide meeting had been unexpectedly scheduled by upper management, and rumors spread quickly. Some employees whispered that the board was planning a surprise audit, others guessed it might be about upcoming promotions. Emily, ever calm and humble, took her usual place at the reception desk, unaware that the events of the previous day were about to change everything. As the clock struck 10, the conference room doors opened, and in walked the deaf visitor from yesterday, but this time, he looked entirely different. His modest clothes were replaced with a tailored navy suit, polished shoes, and an unmistakable air of authority. The room fell silent as murmurs spread through the staff. Emily's eyes widened in disbelief. The man she had helped so patiently wasn't just a visitor, he was Mr. Harrison Cole, the founder and millionaire owner of the company. When he reached the podium, Mr. Cole began to speak, clearly and confidently, no longer pretending to be deaf. "Yesterday," he said, "I came here as a simple visitor. I wanted to see how my employees would treat someone who seemed different, someone who could offer them nothing in return." The room grew still, the weight of his words sinking into every corner. He paused and turned toward Emily, who sat frozen in astonishment. "And among all the people I met," he continued, "one person stood out, not because she recognized me, but because she didn't need to. She treated me with dignity, patience, and kindness that came straight from the heart." Gasps and murmurs filled the room as everyone realized who he meant. Emily's face turned pink, and tears welled in her eyes. Mr. Cole smiled warmly and gestured for her to stand. "Emily," he said, "you reminded me of the values this company was built on, empathy, respect, and humanity. You treated a stranger as if he mattered, and in doing so, you've reminded us all what true service looks like." The entire staff broke into applause, some clapping out of admiration, others out of guilt. Mr. Cole then addressed them directly: "Titles and uniforms mean nothing if we lose our kindness. No amount of success can replace genuine decency." That moment became legendary in the company's history, a humbling revelation that left everyone introspective. Emily's authenticity had not only earned her recognition but had reignited the very soul of the organization. The deaf visitor had tested their hearts, and only one had passed with pure sincerity. After the dramatic reveal in the company meeting, Emily could hardly believe what was happening. The man she had greeted and assisted so naturally, the man she had thought was just another visitor, was the millionaire founder of the company. The applause still echoed in her ears as she processed the reality: her genuine act of kindness had not only been noticed but celebrated at the highest level. Mr. Harrison Cole approached her personally, extending a hand with a warm smile. "Emily," he said, "you've reminded me of something incredibly important. True value isn't measured by wealth, position, or influence. It's measured by how we treat others, with empathy, respect, and integrity. You've passed a test that many wouldn't even know existed." But Mr. Cole didn't stop at words. Recognizing that her sincerity and compassion were rare qualities, he offered Emily a promotion to a managerial role, giving her the responsibility to lead the company's client relations and accessibility programs. This role was not just prestigious, it allowed her to shape policies that could make the company more inclusive and kind to everyone, reflecting the very values she embodied naturally. Beyond the promotion, Emily received personal mentorship from Mr. Cole himself. He shared stories of his own journey, emphasizing how small acts of respect and kindness had guided him through challenges and shaped his philosophy of leadership. For Emily, this was more than a career opportunity, it was validation that her values had significance and power in the real world. The story of Emily's compassion soon spread throughout the company, serving as a daily reminder to all employees that true character is noticed, even when no one is watching. Colleagues who had previously judged or ignored others began to reflect on their own behavior. Training sessions and workshops incorporated lessons from Emily's example, emphasizing the importance of sincerity over superficial politeness. Most importantly, Emily herself felt a profound shift. She realized that her kindness had consequences far beyond immediate recognition. It had the power to inspire, to uplift, and even to change the course of her own life. The experience reaffirmed her belief that helping others, whether through small gestures, patient guidance, or genuine care, could ripple outward in ways no one could predict. In the end, the reward of kindness wasn't just financial or professional, it was deeply personal. Emily had been reminded that compassion and integrity are invaluable assets, capable of transforming both the giver and the recipient. Her story became a timeless lesson: when you act with a pure heart, the universe often finds a way to return that goodness, sometimes in ways that are unimaginably life-changing.